Ooh, this week is going to be so special. Welcome to this week's training where we are actually going to cover an exercise from this particular workbook. I've actually been doing a whole bunch of videos on this workbook, and a lot of them are actually going to be for an upcoming training. There's one particular training that I think is particularly difficult for you to really nail, but it's also probably the biggest exercise in this workbook for you to really set yourself up for success. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to cover how to build a brand identity by connecting the products and services that you have with the overall mission and vision of the company. The definition of a traditional brand is the perception of what and who your customer thinks your brand is whenever they interact with any specific contact point in your brand. That can include picking up your product, like in the case of a Campbell soup can, the interactions that you have with a customer service representative on your company. The ultimate purpose of the brand is to really give your client or your customer a solid clue in to who you are, what you believe, and why your product should fit into their life. Because ultimately, the idea of a brand is for them to try on and to wear and to represent it. I'm a Campbell soup mom versus I'm an Amy's mom and I believe in organic foods and products. There's a big difference between this traditional brand and the concept of a community brand. And one of the big issues, I wrote a blog about this actually, is that Campbell Soup will never actually produce a community-based brand. A brand that can create a target audience that becomes a community is what I call a magnetic brand. The difference between a traditional brand, one that is simply the perception of the identity in the mind of the customer, and a magnetic brand is that a magnetic brand is capable of being worn by your target audience. By wearing that target audience, they can self-disclose, they can affiliate, they can get closer, and they can share that brand as an individual identity that they can get behind. And they can also take action to bring others in. The whole point is to create an audience that is capable of wearing your brand. Doing a typical brand can be really, really tricky. But the big difference is being able to make it a communicable brand that allows people to talk to other people, wear your brand, become an advocate, and then become successful using it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to cover one of the 3 biggest exercises from confidently crafting a magnetic brand. 9 exercises that I have built personally that are modified from older exercises about building brands. So they're built on the shoulders of giants that we live on, but I've changed them in order to make a more community-led, community-focused brand infrastructure. By working through these worksheets, either as an executive team, a content creator, or as a community manager, trying to convince your company what the value of online community is, you'll be able to transfer or move the idea of a Campbell soup brand to the idea of a community-centered brand. You'll be able to create a brand new one if you're an influencer and you're not really too sure how to go about this. Add over, we're going to go ahead and jump directly into this exercise. The easiest way to find this workbook is to simply go to sociallyconstructed.online, click on Training and Resources, and then click on Learn to Build Magnetic Brands. And right here, you'll find everything that you need to know about the workbook, including down here at the middle of the work page, you're going to find a peek inside and you're going to see Brand Identity Blueprint. And what I'd like you to do is just go ahead and click that. It'll actually give you an entire explainer video and open up the resulting document in your Adobe system. The reason why I recommend Adobe, I'm not a huge fan of Adobe to be clear, but they actually have the ability for you to interact live with this particular worksheet, which is absolutely incredible. And by the way, every single template that you buy will have that functionality. Go ahead and jump in and you'll see at the very beginning that I actually left the entire expert from the workbook in this example. So we're actually going to see why this is helpful. What exactly does a brand do and what exactly does the product or service do? The idea of this exercise is you have 2 things that you need to do. You need to build a brand identity that someone else can try on and make sure that that brand identity is simple enough that you can embed it into your products, your services, your community, everything. The idea is to infuse every goal and every value and every infrastructure piece in your brand into the very product that is going to find itself into the hands of your users. I need to be able to hold on to an object and know this is what socially constructed is about. Before we jump into it, it's important that you know what the actual end goal of this exercise is going to be. First, it's really, really critical that you use this brand identity blueprint in order to adjust and change the foundation documents for your online community or your brand. If you're not able, using the current mission or vision statement that you have, to infuse it into your product, you need to change it. And this exercise allows you to go through it and say, all right, I think we're a little bit too complicated, or I think we've not really gone onto the same page. It's not simple enough and it's not evocative enough. So this allows you to go back and reword all of those. And then it allows you to take the notion of your mission and your vision and your values and create emotive keywords that you can then use to sell on your products, add to your copy, put on your creative, build an entire product work page just based off of whether or not that product is capable of engaging with your core values. By the end of this exercise, you're going to have a very simple key phrase. You're going to have missions, you're going to have values, and you're going to have a brand essence. It's the feeling that you're trying to create in the user when they interact with your product. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. In the actual workbook, there's going to be specific instructions, and I'm going to go ahead and toss those instructions onto the screen now for each particular step that we're in, and then we're just going to go ahead and do it. For socially constructed.online, I've already built a mission, vision, and structure statement that will allow me to move into this brand blueprint. So what I want to do is I just want to go ahead and copy and paste that in. This does come from a prior exercise. This is actually going to come from exercise 1 within the workbook, but let's go ahead and do a real quick overview of what the values actually are. We came up with 6 primary values that the brand wants to inhibit. So first off, safety, security, and anonymity, and the ability to control them is a human right. Businesses also have a responsibility to handle the data that they use effectively and ethically. 3, fancy rhetoric with no substance is a poison in the marketing industry. 4th, the brand community and the business are symbiotic, but they are independent. 5, business operations and outcomes should never negatively impact the community. Any organization entering into any community should always seek to better the community by virtue of their presence. And lastly, monetary incentive is only one of a number of driving forces any business should have when they are investing in an online community. So what this did now is it's basically set up the values. These are the things that we want our products or services to really represent. The next thing that we're going to do is we're just going to plug in the specific products and the services that we offer. So for this example, we're going to talk about the actual workbook that I'm selling, creating a community-led brand, walkthrough of basic brand design, bringing already established brands into community. Now what we want to do is we want to describe the actual product that we're looking to connect to these overarching values. So this book has 9 exercises from start to finish, and it starts with the basic of the basic, and it ends with complex customer value journey. The workbook is 3 pages of explainer maximum, and the exercises are personally modified. Now we have these feature sets that we want to talk about. The next thing that we need to do is we need to bring out the benefits. What exactly does 9 exercises from start to finish actually produce? Completely create a brand without help. Starts with the basics and ends with complex. Level up skills wherever you're at. The next feature is that it ends with a complex user journey. So I'm going to actually say immediately implementable result. Another one is 3 pages of explainer maximum. So it's very easy to get started exercises. And then we're going to have another one for exercises are all personally modified, which I can always help in a pinch. So these are the features and the benefits of the product. Each step of the way throughout this exercise, we need to make sure that the overarching brand values are all represented. Businesses should have a responsibility to handle the data they use effectively. Fancy rhetoric with no substance. Yep, because it's just a very simple, very plain as day. Here's the instructions, here's why it matters. that allows you to manage it. Business operations and outcomes should never negatively impact the community. The idea of us walking through this exercise on its own is that my product and its benefits need to represent everything within those brand values. Is there anything on here that seems not to represent a value? Note down the values that aren't being represented and try to get them in there. Next, we're going to move over to the next set. In some cases, you may already have this if you have an existing brand with an existing product. We'd like you to either grab very real examples or make up some examples that you might like to hear for reviews that people have about the product. So for this particular workbook, I could put in specific reviews that I have, or I can toss in a few examples. Each step builds smoothly off the prior and prepares me for the next. This book made very clear the kind of brand that I had and how to change it. Or I want to hear, I can implement on a brand like this. We want to elicit this in our customers. So what emotions do we need to trigger in order to get them to say these things? I think it's important that we take a beat here to say a large majority of people are not going to give you reviews just because. There's a difference between being a promoter, hey, yeah, I've heard of Socially Constructed and I would love to talk about them, or being an advocate. Yes, I built my brand using this magnetic work brand workbook, and I gotta say, it transitioned into implementation so quick and so fast. I want them to feel at ease and fast. I want them to feel elated, and I want them to feel successful. I want them to feel like they are informed. I want them to feel excited. I want them to feel knowledgeable. We have reviews and triggers, and each of these have been set up. So now that we're at the second arrow, we want to come up and we want to say, does this match our brand values? When I am holding this book and I am experiencing it, the features of this book elicit a specific set of benefits that allow people a specific set of emotional triggers that result in specific reviews. These are the results, and this is how we're going to get it. These are the results, and this is how we're going to get it. But by ensuring that each specific section of this product conveys your specific brand values, it's a lot easier for you to connect very specifically with what you're looking for in the product. Now we're going to get into something slightly more complex. We're going to talk about brand tensions and brand differences. I would like to say that the previous two exercises in the workbook prepare you for these two squares. But for the purposes of this video, let's explain a little bit of what's going on here. A brand tension is a conflicting tension or dialectical value that your customer is going to feel when interacting with your brand. For instance, as a community manager, I believe that the community carries a value that is inherent and not calculable. But my executive team expects me to confirm and determine the ROI of my community. In other words, they are asking me to put a number to something that I don't necessarily want. So we have a conflict here of numbers versus culture. It's these conflicts within your brand that really create an identity. It forces your company to take a stand, to motion, to create a flag that says, we believe in community value, or we believe that numbers matter more than concept or feeling. Some other typical ones might be a highly traditional mindset versus an innovative mindset. Some of them might be monetary versus values. Some of them might be safety versus ease of access. See, in a large majority of communities, people are brought in because they share the same value sets. So you need to set a flag or plant a value for exactly what you care about. Your product has to do the same thing as your brand does. And the critical important part about that is ensuring that when you have to make a decision between the amount of money coming in and the value to your competitors, you are on a specific side of that. So what you're going to do in the conveyed brand tensions is you're going to look at your product and you're going to say, what values are we forcing our customers and our users to have in order for us to sell the product? And is that consistent with the values that we did in exercise 2 about the brand? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this in, and we're going to go ahead and go over it so that you can get a better sense of what exactly this is for. For this particular workbook and for the brand itself, I wanted to make sure that socially constructed online wasn't trying to simplify messages in order to make it more marketable. We were focusing primarily on the accuracy of the information that we were providing in our educational content. So accuracy comes first over simplicity. Conversely, I wanted to make sure that the value that came out of these workbooks was less important than the time it was going to take to process. And this might seem a little bit weird, but I really had to think about and compete with this. Did I really care about the time to process the exercise for executive members, for data analysts, for the people who aren't involved in the primary stakeholding of the community? I needed to make sure that they felt comfortable going through these exercises. So I needed to put the value second and trust that the community manager, all of you, or the people who are working through these exercises would get the value out of it later. I also wanted to make sure that for this particular setup, since it's a community-led workbook, innovation took place over having to deal with or work around red tape. In your personal organizations, you're going to have red tape about changing your brand. A lot of people are going to have an iron grip on that style guide to make sure that the sound in your communities is the same as the sound in your organizations. That's no longer a thing. It's not been a thing over the course of the decade. So I wanted to make sure that I gave you a book that equipped you to combat that specific red tape by being as innovative as it could possibly be. I also wanted to make sure that that was represented in the small company versus large brand concept. I think it's important that when you view your brand as changing, you view it using a new approach. But because it's about community, I wanted to make sure that every exercise was team oriented, so you could always have people working with you through the entire process. And now we're going to do the exact same process, except we're going to zoom out a little. This isn't going to be about our users. It's now going to be about our competitors. So what are the differences that we are creating in our brand versus others? So the ones that I chose where I wanted this brand to mean cooperation over competition. So I wanted this book to allow people to create communities of abundance. And that means ensuring that when interacting with other brands, I was the friendly one. I also wanted to ensure that the ROI aspect, which is incredibly important, was still usurped by the value received within the community. So I wanted this book to say, this is more valuable than the ROI of selling this book. I also wanted to make sure that the science in the book, the science of my brand, because I'm an academic brand, usurps that of the marketability of my brand. Socially constructed online is not the most SEOable name. At the same time, neither is the name of the workbook. While the workbook has a highly marketable title, I also wanted to make sure that the social science, that the education was more important. So yeah, is ease of access being sacrificed with my brand? Yes. Are other competitors a little bit easier to interact with and understand? Yes, but my goal was to make an educational content piece that allowed people to tackle and solve tough problems. So I ensured that my brand differences, as relayed through the book, were going to represent where I stick my place in the market. And now we're going to take a quick step back. And we're going to look at everything. We know that our product and its benefits are eliciting specific reviews with a specific set of triggers that we want to produce. We know that overall, the brand tensions that we have for our company are making their way into the decisions for the product that's been generated. And we know that in the market, in and of itself, we have created a unique product that represents a unique brand. You should have most of your brand values checked off by now. And now we're going to take all of this and wrap it in a nice, neat little pervasive package. With this next setup with Timeless Equities, we want to make sure that if someone were to buy this book 70 years from now, they would see the same aspects of our brand in this book. In other words, what are the things that stay for the long haul? And ultimately, I want all of these timeless equities to represent the emotional feelings and the triggers, the features, the products, the benefits, and the tensions that are involved in the book. So first off, simplicity of information. But I also want robust academic and scientific information that will withstand the test of time. I also want to make sure that the workbook allows you to complete the work even when you're not capable of doing it at the start. Exercises impart industry thought-leading value. And now what I want to do is I want to take all of this information and I want to give it a go to create a nice little pitch at what the feeling should be when I open this workbook. Now keep in mind, this isn't a mission and it's not a descriptive statement for the copy of the book. What I'm building here is a highly emotional statement for when a person picks up this book, what do they think of socially constructed as a result of it? So this is my first go, and you can already tell it's super, super rough. Confidently crafting a magnetic brand that attracts an audience is about building a robust and well-intentioned brand that puts education, success, knowledge, and preparedness above simplicity, marketability, and content. With this workbook, you can achieve a brand capable of galvanizing community. Now what I'm going to do is I want to change this into a verb form, and I want to start to workshop it in order to make it one cohesive statement that is highly emotionally visceral. Here's my second go. Using this 9-exercise workbook to craft a magnetic brand that attracts an audience capable of galvanizing a community. This workbook prepares total beginners and brand experts for a rich new world of community-led brand awareness using social scientific principles to quickly get you up to speed. There aren't really a lot of those terms in there. There's also not a lot of the reviews that you really want. I can implement on a brand like this. Maybe you should be pulling from that implementation, that excited and that knowledgeable phase in order to build this. So let's move on to attempt number 3. This 9-exercise magnetic brand workbook will help you quickly and confidently craft a brand that attracts the perfect user to galvanize a community by preparing beginners and brand experts alike for a rich, successful community based on social scientific principles. So now that you have a general brand essence that you seem to enjoy throughout the course of this exercise, we're going to go back now and we're going to check your timeless equities and your brand essence against your brand values. Start working, go box to box to box. What have you forgotten? What are you struggling with? What isn't included? Where should that be going? What can you pull from in the top row of the features, benefits, reviews, triggers, and tensions in order to create a really strong timeless equity or brand essence? I highly invite you to actually go through and workshop this. Have multiple different members of your team, if you have multiple team members, do this with each other and on their own in order to work through it and modify them all. I want to point out that the entire time we've been working on this spreadsheet, the identity blueprint has said assumed on it. What we need to do now is we need to go grab our target audience. Go grab the people that you think you want to sell this product to. I'm going to grab the people that I think would benefit most from this particular workbook and talk to them. Ask them, what exactly are the values that you carry in your heart most when it comes to building your brand? What are the features and the benefits of this particular workbook for that user? Ask them for the specific reviews that they have and why they gave the review that they did. A large majority of this can be done using a huge amount of audience research, and just by going back and confirming that your assumed blueprint is correct or where it might be wrong, you'll suddenly find that you might need to reposition the product. And by doing so, I believe you'll create a better product, you'll create a stronger brand, and by virtue of testing your brand blueprint, you will have galvanized, created, generated, and reaped the rewards of online community. So that's it. I know it was long, it's arduous, it's difficult. That's okay. In a lot of cases, doing these blend blueprints can be really difficult, but we are always free and readily available. If you have any questions or you're running through a particular exercise, toss it into the Discord. Join our Discord and we'll all workshop it together. Whether or not people have bought the product, they can still provide that same amount of feedback for you. This book is totally for sale. So if you liked this exercise, definitely hop down to the page here in order to purchase this workbook for yourself, because we are actually going to be doing a workshop on this product where we are going to go exercise through exercise through exercise over the course of 5 weeks, where I'm actually going to walk through all of these exercises live with you and build that brand together. A really huge opportunity. And if you buy this book now, you'll have $200 off any of those seats. Now remember, the seats are limited, so be sure that you get in as soon as possible. People who have already bought the book will have priority on those seats. And with that, thank you so much for bearing with me and all of my ads throughout the whole book, because let's be real, this was a video about selling a book, but I also hope that the Brand Identity Blueprint has given you a glimpse into how much thought has to go into you really building a strong brand that is community oriented. I hope this was helpful, and I also want to urge you to join our online community, even if you can't buy the book, because you're going to be seeing people throw a lot of these. There's also a template version where all you get are the actual exercises. So if you already feel like you can jump off and go build your own brand dossier that's community led, you can do that for 15 bucks. Super simple, super easy purchase. Thank you so much, and I had a lot of fun with this. I'm looking really forward to doing a lot of the live versions. I'm pretty excited about it.